All right, hello everybody. My name is Cameron. I'm with the Athens Land Trust, and today we're going to do a little video workshop about rain barrels. We have a couple previously recorded about how to build the rain barrel. So this one is going to be a little different. So I really wanted to kind of focus on community gardens, and one of the concerns and issues that some of them find themselves is that they have no water source. And so a lot of rain barrels, work right off a building to collect the water from the roof, but I wanted to come up with a way, if you were a community garden, or even if it's just you're a backyard gardener that didn't have a source of water nearby, how could you collect water for your garden? And so I've come up with a way just to use a simple tarp and some basic supplies you find at your hardware store to collect the rain and then get it into your barrel. So first, just to go quickly through the steps of making the rain barrel, you have three kind of components to your rain barrel. So you have some way for the water to go in, and then you're going to have a spigot, a way for your water to come out, which will be installed about 3 or 4 inches from the bottom. And then you're going to have an overflow, just in case you don't use your rain barrel often enough. You want to have a place for that water to kind of pour out. And then you can also, like this one has a hose attachment, you can actually attach a hose to that, so you can have it run off somewhere else. Or you can actually have multiple rain barrels and actually connect them together and have a bigger water container system. So this barrel is I believe it's a 55-gallon barrel with a plastic lid. And we kind of recycled this one, so somebody already kind of used it. So it's got a couple pieces on here that we don't really need, but they're already on some holes. And so we just made sure we attached some screening in there. So really what's important to note is that you don't want to have a source for mosquitoes to breed in your rain barrel. So because we're not using these, we just made sure we just put some screening in there. So the one hole that I did cut, since this is going to be a rain barrel that's going to collect from a tarp, everything's going to come to the center. So when you have a rain barrel at your house, you usually want to have that hole closer to the back side of the barrel so that the downspout kind of matches up easier. So on this one, I just cut a hole right in the middle, and I just used a jigsaw. And it cuts really well in this plastic material. A 3-inch piece of PVC. It was already cut to this length, so I didn't have to do any cutting. And then I attached some of the brackets that you use to support PVC on the edges, just to keep it from falling through. So the water, this could be variable in height. A couple more pieces from the hardware store that are also PVC fittings that fit into a 3-inch pipe. So I got a male and a female, and these kind of screw together. They're threaded, you can see that. And so what I've done is cut a hole in the very center of the tarp, and then I'm going to put one of these through one layer of the tarp and the other on the other layer, and then I'm just going to screw those together so that it'll kind of pinch the tarp in the middle, and that'll stay secure. And then this, again, I put some mosquito netting in there, so we don't have any way for the mosquitoes to come through this hole. And then when this is actually on the tarp, kind of like this, then it'll just kind of hover and it'll kind of fit inside of this 3-inch. The basic steps. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do just a quick installation of the spigot and the overflow. So for those two things, I'm just using a spade bit on my drill. So this is a 15/16 inch. I will go over a couple details about the spigot. I went over this in some other ones, but so this is a 3/4 inch brass. There's also a 1/2 inch, really doesn't matter. But you do want to take in consideration the handle location, because some of these are a little more angled back, that I've noticed that sometimes will hit the rain barrel once it's attached. So you want to make sure that you check that and make sure there's going to be enough room so that it doesn't hit the back of the rain barrel. Set up the rain barrel. You want to put it elevated a little bit, because it's going to be gravity fed. So the higher up it is, you're going to get a little bit more pressure. So this is not going to be, you're not going to be able just to attach your hose and spray like you would a garden hose, because there's no pressure. So this may be if you have a slope, and maybe if you have you know, a shorter hose, or it could just be for filling up rain buckets too, or watering cans. So just keep that in mind. So we have a couple cinder blocks out there. So I'm gonna build this, like I said, and then we'll stop and we'll go over. We got some stakes this time. We have some T-posts, 8-foot T-posts that we're gonna use, and then we'll just use some zip ties to attach it to the tarp to the T-posts, and that should be. So our tarp is, I think it's a 6 by 8 foot. Of course, you can use any size tarp you want. The more surface area you have, the more water you'll collect, of course. If you had a structure, you could tie it off on that. Since we're just doing it out here in the grass, we just decided to use 4 T-posts, but you could, you know, tie it off a side of a fence or some other structure too. Attach the overflow first. So I'm just gonna have it somewhere up here. Okay. There we go. So we're going to attach that, like I said, and I'll put some silicone in that. And this piece here, you can see, actually you can attach it. The plastic's a little bit thicker on this barrel on the bottom, I think. So I'm going to try to get in there with that. Okay, so I'm just going to go about 4 inches from the bottom and start this hole. So there's that, and then this is pretty thick plastic, so actually when we go to put this on and we're turning it, it'll actually create threads in the plastic. Okay, so we're gonna stop, and then we're gonna install the rain barrel to the location. We're gonna put it up on the blocks and set up the tarp, and then we'll start this back. Okay, so we're back. We had to do a little bit of troubleshooting and had to work on a couple things, but we have the tarp in place, we have the post up, we have the barrel in place, we have it sitting on the cinder blocks. One thing, you know, it's important is to make sure the slope of your tarp works so that the water will funnel into the center where your hole is. So we had to do a little adjusting with some making some adjustments with the height of the corners, since we are a little bit on a slope. So, and then the other thing that we discovered was that when we set this piece in, I was hoping that it would be kind of sandwiched here where it connected with the tarp, and that would hold it in place, but it kept slipping through. So thought of another solution would be I took a piece of vinyl that you find on the back of a report cover, those kind of with the little bar that slides that holds it together. So it's a thin piece of but also flexible yet somewhat rigid vinyl, very thin, and I just hot glued that to the very top, because when this sits down into the 3-inch PVC pipe, you want to make sure it's as flush as possible so that it doesn't create a lip so the water can. That's what we did, and I think that's going to make a lot more secure placement of this. So we'll just put this right in here. So now you can see that it's nice and flush. We got all the angles of the tarp kind of, you know, so the lowest spot is the center of the tarp where the hole is. And we got the barrels in place. We have the spigot there. So yeah, so that's about it. So yeah, this is just an idea I was researching. I couldn't find any information on, you know, hey, what do you do if you want to collect rainwater but you don't have a shed or a building nearby? So that, I know that's a challenge that some community gardens have. Now, you know, some people are going to say, well, how much water do I need for my garden or my community garden? And of course, there's so many variables with how much rain you're getting, how much rain you need. I have seen a general number out there, at least in our area in Georgia, that basically one 55-gallon rain barrel would be required for each 10 by 4 which is a pretty standard sized raised bed. So that's something to maybe consider. But of course, if you're in a more arid area, it may be different. So if anyone has any other ways that they're collecting rainwater, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, and we'll try to answer all those questions. But yeah, I hope you found this helpful today. I want to thank John, our garden manager here, for his help and doing this demonstration today. So again, if you want to leave us a comment or contact us directly, we're at the Athens Land Trust in Athens, Georgia. All right, thanks.